Alright, hello my fellow gamers. Today we are talking about I tried the Ranger Spear in Janthir Wilds after the launch. We did a video on this during the open beta when everyone was able to try out these spears, and now it is in full release. They have changed a lot of things. The spear is much more powerful than it was before. Additionally, when you use the spider web attack, you do not use the charge of the 5 key. So if I use the 5 to go into Panther's Prowl and then I use it again to throw the web, it doesn't use both of the charges, which is good because in PvP you only have one charge. Additionally, for those who don't know, the way the spear works is it is a melee weapon if you're in melee range. It is a ranged weapon that is weaker if you are at range. The 2 is a swipe in front of you. The 3 just throws a more powerful spear. The 4 is a movement skill and a bit of damage, and the 5 goes invis. But the 5 changes the 2 through 5. So the 2 does more damage. The 3 goes further and looks like an owl. The 4 does a daze at the end of the movement skill, and doing the 5 2 times, as you saw a moment ago, throws a net. The net does damage, it immobilizes on contact if it directly hits, and then it pulses cripple for a few seconds. And also it gives your pet super speed for 3 seconds because it gets excited when it sees someone get netted. Now, how did it actually feel? Of course, it was the new thing. I used it in open world and PvE and on open world bosses, some strike missions, stuff like that, and I tried it out, and it was all right. It was definitely a lot better than it was during the beta test where the damage was like a foam pool noodle. However, it still felt kind of weak, but I couldn't really test it that well on the first day because the Arc DPS add-on I usually use to run my DPS test was down because it breaks every time there's a new patch. Now, I just used the spear for like a day and a half, and then Arc got fixed. Once Arc got fixed, I went to the Golem room and I tried out the spear in there. I am a decent Power Quickness Untamed, so I played Power Quickness Untamed with some of my favorite weapons. I did like hammer, mace, and I was getting between like 28 and 30k on the dummy while keeping up all the boons that class is responsible for keeping up on the party. I swapped to spear instead of the hammer, and I immediately dropped by 2,000 to 3,000 DPS. And the hammer, I think, is actually even weaker than sword axe, but I just like it more. So it was absolutely, in terms of just raw damage per second, it was a downgrade over the other power weapon options in PvE. And as far as the PvE toolkit goes, it feels kind of weird. Like, you've got the melee attack, and then occasionally you hit the 5 to stealth, and it makes these skills get powered up. Well, which one do I use my big hit on? It's the 2. The 2 does about double damage when the stealth is empowering it. So if you use the 5 and use the 2, it goes hit, and then like a forward chomp from like an ethereal wolf thing. And none of the others get as big of a boost as it does. So every time that you have a stealth available, you do the stealth and then use the 2 key. However, when you stealth yourself, you turn off your auto attack. So I'm pretty sure that when, during the time you're casting stealth, you're not attacking. During the brief moment you are stealthed and you are charging up the 2 key, you're not attacking. So although the 2 hits harder, you could have done a couple of autos there that you didn't do because you were doing that. So I don't actually know how much damage ahead you're getting because of that sacrifice, because it's more like you're attacking, then you turn off your attack, and then you do a big hit. But if you had just kept attacking, it would have been close to the same. So it's kind of The 3 kind of gives me a why do you exist type of feel. It does some damage. It hits a little bit harder than the auto attack or the ranged auto attack, but not that much harder. When you empower it, it gets a tiny bit more powerful and it becomes unblockable and it pierces. Also longer range. It goes from 900 range to 1200. I'll talk about PvP in a little bit, but there was a few times in PvP I would use this just to poke at someone who was really far away, and it was all right. It wasn't as good as just having a longbow, but it was all right. The 4, it does some damage and not a lot, and it's a movement skill that it's only 600 range. It's better than nothing, but it's a pretty short range for a movement skill. And if it is empowered by doing the stealth thing, then it will do daze on the end of it, so it becomes like a CC. Now, 300 CC is not bad. Same thing as before though. You have to use the stealth, and then you stop attacking while you're doing that, and then you use this, and then it does that. Also, I believe I misspoke a second ago. I said it does the same damage. I think in PvP it does the same damage whether it's buffed or not, but in PvE it does more damage when it is buffed, but not as much as the 2 does. So that is the kit, and that's how to use it. In PvE, as I said, the job of this spear is a power DPS weapon. It does not provide any boons. It does not, so it's not going to be used by a support like a druid or a heal untamed. It is not Condi. It has almost no conditions. I think If you do an untamed ambush with a spear, I think it might do poison, but only on the ambush, not on any of the other skills. So it is a power weapon. So we are comparing it to other power weapons. Axe, sword axe, great sword, longbow, hammer, double maces, etc. And I feel like it just comes up short compared to those in terms of damage, and it offers very, very little utility other than the fact that it is a hybrid weapon, which means it's kind of worse at range and worse at melee than some of the other choices. So if it is not the answer in PvE, what about the other game modes? Next up, I considered World v World. However, we've got a few short range melee options, which, if World v World, if you're dueling someone, maybe, but not for blobbing. And you've got some, ranged poke that hits one person for very low damage at 900 range. Compare that to like my arrow cart build that just constantly spams barrage from like a mile away and hits like a whole blob of people, and there's no contest. I didn't even try this out in World v World. Maybe someone will come up with a build where it's good there, but I just looked at it and I was like, there's no way that this is going to be great. So PvP. It has stealth, you're going in and out of invisibility. You can throw freaking nets on people. Maybe this could be useful in PvP. And I tried it out and it's all right. It was all right. Now, here's the thing. In PvP, you could be playing any form of ranger. This is a power weapon. There are power druids, power soul beast, and power untamed. All of those exist in PvP. The way you play it will be different depending on the pets that you take, the specializations and traits that you take, the skills you take, and the second weapon you take. Like spear longbow is going to play very differently than spear greatsword. So it is important to note that the experience I'm about to describe to you is for a specific build that I came up with and will not be true for all of them. I think it's really important to mention that. Someone's going to come up with some cracked spear builds. It's just not going to be me. So I tried it out with the builds, some of the builds that I was the best at because, I wanted to play something I was confident in. So I was like, okay, this thing gets bonuses when you go stealth. I'm going to go Druid. Druid has one more stealth option than the other classes. I've got a lot of experience with Druid. I've hit Platinum 2 on Druid on a couple of occasions, Platinum 1 many times. So I'm a decent at that. I'm going to try this out. So the Druid, when you use Celestial Shadow, you go stealth, and lo and behold, it makes the skills flip over, okay? If you are using the Jaguar and you use stealth, it makes the skills flip over. And then, of course, if you use the actual stealth on the weapon, the skills flip over. So I had 3 ways, Druid, Jaguar, and Spear itself, to go into the ambush state. It was kind of cool. Plus, I was kind of pretty slippery, I had multiple ways of going in and out of invisibility or during fights. It helped out. If I was trying to get away from someone, I could do this, like throw a net on them and then like run away. If I was weapon swapped, I could, do the roots this way because I was using staff for my other weapon. And again, if you did this with a greatsword, it would be a very different experience than if you did this with a longbow or if you did this with a staff or whatever. I chose to do spear staff. I won many games tonight. It was, and hold on a sec. Let me prove I'm not just making stuff up. So we had win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, lose, win. So I think we won one more than we lost, and we were doing ranked there for a while. We were doing unranked down here. But it did all right. We were able to, make some plays. It really messed with the enemy when I could land the net. I think the net was probably the most devastating thing in the kit. If you got someone who gets dazed or stunned for a second, and you just double tapped this and threw the net on them, that's a 2-second immobilize. It does damage on impact, and it pulses cripple in the area, and your pet is super speeding toward them. And, if they were getting mobbed by your other teammates too, just landing that immobilize was nasty, and then the cripple. So it was okay. There was a few times that, someone would be running at very long range, and I would do this, and I would, hit them with the Empowered 3. The 4 was nice as a movement skill. The 2 was okay. However, just overall, the damage just felt okay. There was many times that someone would be like, they put up like projectile block or projectile reflect like magnetic aura. I would just swap to the staff and start lasering because laser is not prevented by projectile block, and it was doing almost the same damage at range. There was many times I got caught by something and I was like, wow, if I had greatsword right now, I could use the block and survive this, like a dragon hunter trap or something like that. So overall, like the total experience, it felt okay to me with what I was playing. It didn't feel amazing. It felt all right. You know, both, I was running two things that both had movement skills. That was pretty good. I was running quick draw, so I could weapon swap and use either of those skills 2 times in quick succession. Being able to go in and out of stealth made me slippery, so I would often finish my games with little to no deaths. It was all right, you know. I often found myself missing the greatsword for the block mechanic. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like if this weapon has a place, it's in PvP. It's probably not how I was using it, like the build I was using it and the staff that I paired it with, but maybe someone will come up with something better. In PvE, you know, open world, you can do whatever you want. Open world, you could do whatever you want. The rules are out in open world. But if you're like in a raid or a fractal and you're like trying to beat damage checks, like, you know, we have to kill this boss within 5 minutes or he will enrage and then kill the whole room, and you have to do X amount of damage to kill it before that time passes, I probably wouldn't bring Spear to that because it's just a flat downgrade and I'm not really gaining any utility that I need from it, you know? Gaining the immobilize is just, you know, 300 CC, that's great. The maces have 900 when they, you know, do their reset. So it's just kind of whatever. And if you're in melee range to melee, I don't even know if the 3 is worth pressing because the 3 is just the power of 1.5 melees and it interrupts the melee chain. So I think the 3 might actually lower your damage if you hit it. I haven't done the math on that, but that's what it looks like when I'm eyeballing the tooltips. So it's a weird kit. I like what they're going for here. I don't know if this landed or if they might need to tweak the numbers further. In PvE, it's really easy to say if they want us to use it in PvE, the damage has to be increased some more. If it's meant to be a PvP weapon, the utility is already there. I'm not sure if the damage is there, and I'm not sure what build will be born that will make it, you know, a dream weapon. But we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, just sharing my thoughts, you know, as someone who has played Druid for 5,000 games of PvP and what is my /age? 6,000 hours in Guild Wars 2 are on this character. Those were my thoughts after trying it out and just sharing that with you guys. And if any of you had a different experience with the Ranger Spear, I'm very curious. Like if you popped off in PvP, what build did you use? I would like to know. I would actually love to have that discussion. If you were in PvE and you somehow found a way to get more damage out of it than its competitors, the axes, the sword, the great sword, the longbow, the maces, the hammer, I'm curious how you pulled that off. Talk to me about it. Or if you just think I hit the nail on the head, then you'll let me know. I'll read what you say, and I will talk to you in the comment section down below.